Good day everyone. Welcome to the lecture series on power electronics. In previous session we have seen single phase semi-converter operation with ripple free load current, and in that particular semi-converter configuration we have used three diodes. We have seen the semi-converter operation with three diodes and two thyristors. Now there are other ways possible to realize semi-converter operation. So two important configurations that are going to be studied in this course are symmetrical semiconductor and asymmetrical semiconductor. So this is the circuit diagram of symmetrical semiconductors. So it uses only four switches, in fact two thyristors and two diodes. In each leg one thyristor and one diode is used. See, in each arm or in each leg you can see you have one thyristor and one diode. So this kind of configuration is referred to as symmetrical semiconductor configuration. Now let me assume that load is highly inductive in nature and load current is more or less ripple free, so T1 is fired at alpha, omega T is equal to alpha, so gate pulse is supplied for thyristor 1, so that would come into conduction, and from alpha ranging from omega T is ranging from alpha to pi, T1 and D1 are going to conduct, and corresponding conducting path from source to load is this way. So that is source to thyristor 1 and then load coming back to source through diode D1. This is the path, and during this operation V0 is going to be VAB. Apply KVL for this conducting loop, you will get V0 is equal to VAB, that is equal to Vs, same as source voltage. Coming to the output current, that is same as thyristor 1 current, which is same as thyristor 2 current, and I assume that load current is ripple free, so it is more or less constant. Its average value and RMS values are equal, and value of which can be obtained from the formula V0 minus E by R, where V0 is the average value of output voltage, E is battery voltage, and R is resistance that is present in the load. Now let us indicate this particular mathematical expressions graphically. V0 is equal to VAB during this period, so that is same as this, right? V0 is same as VAB, and I0 anyway that is equal to constant, and that conduct is same as thyristor 1 current, that is same as diode 1 current. Okay, T1 and D1 are going to conduct during this period. And what about the source current? So source current is same as the load current. You can see source current is same as load current, right? Both are equal. Thyristor 1, thyristor 2 and diode 2 both are reverse biased, they won't conduct. Okay, they won't conduct during this period. Now what happens from pi to omega T ranging from pi to pi plus alpha? So you can see at pi this voltage across load will try to become negative, and thyristor 1 is already forward biased, so it is already conducting at that particular moment. And what would happen? So this diode 2, voltage across this diode 2 is going to be positive, it is going to be forward bias. Once this voltage become negative, so this D2 would be forward biased by this conducting path as well as load voltage. You can see voltage across the diode 2 is same as V0, so minus V0, where V0 is negative, so minus V0 become positive during that particular period. So this would come into conduction. So what would happen? So current would shift from this path to the new path, that is from thyristor 1 to load and then coming back to diode and then coming back to thyristor. So this is the path. What is the reason? So the reason is diode 2 is getting forward biased once the voltage is becoming negative immediately after the previous period, that is omega T is equal to pi. So our current would shift from D1 to D2, so T1, D2 are going to conduct during this particular interval of time, and assuming thyristor and diode both are ideal, so drop across them is equal to 0, so voltage drop across load also going to be same as drop across these two switches, which is 0. Coming to the load current, that is same as thyristor 1 current, which is same as diode 2 current also. And what about source current? So source current, now there is no current flowing through source, source is not contributing anything to the load during this period. So source current is going to be 0 during this period. And at omega t is equal to pi plus alpha, so omega t is equal to pi plus alpha, what are we doing? We are supplying gate pulse to thyristor 2. So thyristor 2, which is already forward biased, and that would come into conduction. So during this period, T2 and D2 are going to conduct. So current would shift from this path to the new path, that is this. So current would shift from T1 to T2 because it is phi, which is already forward biased. So now during this interval of time, so this is the path of current flow, that is from source to the load through thyristor 2 and diode 2. So this is the path, new path. Assuming thyristor 2 and diode 2 are ideal, voltage up across them is 0 when they are conducting. So apply KVL for this conducting loop, you will get voltage across load same as minus Vs. And thyristor 2 and diode 2 currents are same as load current, and load current is opposite to that of the source current direction. So Is is equal to minus I0 during this interval of time, that is omega t ranging from pi plus alpha to 2 pi. So let you indicate that graphically. So you can see that during this period V0 is equal to minus Vs. So minus Vs is shown with the dotted lines here, you can see. So that is this way. So this is the V0 during omega t ranging from alpha to 2 pi. Now during this period T2 and D2 are conducting, and source current is equal to minus of this load current, that is what indicated graphically here. Now what about the operation from 2 pi to 2 pi plus alpha? So at 2 pi, so this load voltage will try to become negative. So once that try to become negative, so you can see voltage drop across D1 immediately after this omega t is equal to 2 pi would be positive. This is going to be forward biased by the negative voltage across the load immediately after 2 pi, due to which this comes into conduction. So load current would shift from this path, that is from T2 and D2, it would shift from D2 D2 to T2 D1. So this is the new path of the current flow through the load. So current would flow through the load and then coming back to D1 and then going back to T2 and so on. So this is the current direction, load current free wheels through this path, diode D1 and D2. So during this period load voltage becomes 0. So load voltage equal to drop across these two switches, thyristor and diode, and while they are conducting we assume that their drop are also almost 0. Let me take it as 0. Of course practically we have small value, that is ignored for analysis purpose. What about I0? I0 is equal to same as thyristor 2 current, which is same as diode 1 current during this period, and there is no contribution to load current from the source, so source current is 0. So that is what indicated here. So T2 D2 are conducting, load voltage 0 and load source current is also 0. So this is the operation of this semi converter from alpha to 2 pi plus alpha, so for complete cycle. So same thing would repeat for remaining cycles also, that is what indicated here. Okay, same thing would repeat for remaining cycles also. Okay, so now this is the operation, and let us see the mathematical expressions for output voltage and output current, input voltage and input current respectively. So now if you see, the frequency of output voltage is double to that of the input. So input frequency is Fs and output voltage frequency is equal to 2 into Fs. See, by the time input is completing 1 cycle, output voltage is completing 2 cycles. So while computing average and RMS values, consider only half cycle. So consider the omega t ranging from alpha to pi plus alpha only for the output voltage. And of course output current is constant, it is ripple free, so average value, RMS values are going to be equal. So compute average value, that is also same as the RMS value for output current. And coming to source current, so source current would exist from alpha to pi and then pi to 2 pi plus pi plus alpha to 2 pi. So during the first cycle, so consider this mathematical expression. So that is equal to I0 from alpha to pi and minus I0 from pi plus alpha to 2 pi. So consider this mathematical expression, and for remaining period it is 0. and try to derive the average and RMS value for input currents. So of course average value would become 0 because area for positive cycle and negative cycles both are equal in magnitude and they are having opposite polarity, so the net area would become 0. So the average current would become 0. Now V0 is equal to Vm sin omega t from alpha to pi, and it is equal to 0 from pi to pi plus alpha. I0 is equal to I0, so small I0 is equal to capital I0, that is average value of output current, that is also equal to RMS value of output current, that is IOR. Source current is equal to I0 for omega t ranging from alpha to pi, and 0 from omega t ranging from pi to pi plus alpha, minus I0 from pi plus alpha to 2 pi, and 0 from 2 pi to 2 pi plus alpha. So let you use these mathematical expressions to derive the average and RMS values. So average value of input voltage, so similar way to the previous lecture, so you can derive the average value formula, that is equal to Vm by pi into 1 plus cos alpha. RMS value, that is equal to Vm by root 2 pi into square root pi minus alpha plus half into sin 2 alpha. So similar to the derivation that was obtained in previous lecture. Average output current, yeah, so that is equal to V0 minus E by R, where V0 is the average value of output voltage, E is battery voltage, R is resistance present in the load. So V0 is equal to Vm by pi into 1 plus cos alpha. Substitute that, you get the average value of RMS current, which is average value of the output current, and average value of output current is same as RMS value of output current, as load current is ripple free. RMS value of the input voltage, so that is equal to Vm by root 2, where Vm is peak value of the source voltage. RMS value of input current, yeah, you can derive and you would get that is equal to I0 into pi minus alpha by pi square root. So where I0 is RMS value of the load current. So this way one can find out average and RMS value for output voltages and output currents, input voltage and input current respectively. Now you can use those derived formulas to calculate the input power factor, which is one of the important factor to evaluate performance of the rectifier. We know, so current is ripple free, I0 is equal to IOR, that is equal to V0 minus E by R, and input power factor is equal to powers consumed by load by input VA. We have derived this formula already in previous lecture, so go through that. So it is very simple to understand. P0 is equal to V0 into I0, Vs is equal to Vm by root 2, Is is equal to I0 into square root pi minus alpha by pi. So substitute them in place of P0, Vs and Is, you will get input power factor. Okay, so please go through this particular slide again, and this is very important. Sometimes you may be asked to find out input power factor also, and most of the times it would be mentioned in the question that current is ripple free. So in case of ripple free current, so it is very easy to compute the input power factor, so please do it. In case load is free from the battery, if load does not contain battery, it contain only R and L, so you can put E is equal to 0 in this mathematical expressions to obtain the input power factor. Now coming to diode and thyristor current, yes, you can see thyristor 1 is going to conduct from alpha to pi plus alpha, and thyristor 2 is going to conduct from pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha. So thyristor 1 and 2, so both of them are going to conduct for pi radians for entire complete cycle. So thyristor 1 would conduct, the conduction angle of thyristor 1 would be pi radians, and conduction angle of thyristor 2 is also going to be pi radians, that is from pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha. And assuming current is ripple free, so you can find out RMS value and average value of thyristor currents for thyristor 1 as well as thyristor 2, and you will see that thyristor 1 and thyristor 2 are going to have same average value and same RMS value for their currents. So that is what's shown here. So that is what derived here. So ITA is equal to I0 by 2. So derive this formula. So this is the formula to compute average value, and here so I0 exists from alpha to pi plus alpha only. For remaining period it is equal to 0. So no need to consider integration from pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha. So do it. And if you do it, you will get ITA is equal to I0 by 2 for this symmetrical semiconductor configuration. Similarly, RMS value also you can derive. So this is the formula to compute RMS value. So square the the current to thyristor and take its mean value, apply square root, you will get that value is equal to I naught by root 2 for this particular configuration. So assuming load current is ripple free. So see, please note that we have making some assumption. What is that? Load current is ripple free. Now similarly you can find out diode currents also. Diode 1 and diode 2 are both are once again they will have similar pattern for their currents, of course with some time shifts. So they would have same average value and same RMS value. So compute them also using similar kind of formulas. We know how to compute. Take the mean value for complete period and also take root mean square value for complete period of their respective currents for diodes. If you do that, then you will get diode average current is equal to I naught by 2, where I naught is load current which is ripple free, and IDR also equal to I naught by root 2. So under assumption I naught is ripple free, this is true. Now coming to circuit turnout time, which is also very important parameter. So let you consider the one of the voltage across one thyristor. You take voltage across any one of the thyristor. So now here, so this is not I naught, this is VT1. So I have considered voltage across thyristor 1 for complete period, and from that you can find the circuit turnout time as well as peak inverse voltage. And of course thyristor conduction period is same as pi radians. Already we have seen in previous slide. Thyristors are going to conduct, of course diodes also going to conduct for pi radians. So now anyway, let us consider the voltage across thyristor 1 from omega t ranging from alpha to pi. Thyristor 1 is going to conduct this way, so voltage drop across that is going to be 0. So that is indicated graphically here. Of course that would be indicated sometime later. And pi to pi plus alpha, T1 and D2 are going to conduct. T1 is going to conduct still even from pi plus alpha, pi to pi plus alpha. So T1 is still conducting. So voltage drop across that is still 0. And 5 plus alpha to 2 pi, so T2 and D2 are going to conduct. So T2 and D2 are going to conduct, and this thyristor 1 cathode terminal is short circuited to this terminal B of the source through this thyristor 2. So voltage up across this thyristor 1 with this polarity, so that is VT1 is equal to VAB. So during that period, that is from pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus 2 pi, pi plus alpha to 2 pi. And what about the next period? So that is so anyway VT1 is equal to VAB during this period, and next period, that is 2 pi to 2 pi plus alpha, T2 and D2 are going to conduct, right? T2 and D2 are going to conduct, and during this period also voltage across thyristor found to be VAB. You can see, so source terminal B is short circuited to cathode terminal of T1, and voltage drop across thyristor anode is directly connected to the source terminal A, so voltage drop across that with this polarity is VAB. So that is same as VAB. So let you indicate that. You can indicate that here. So during alpha to pi it is 0, and even from pi to pi plus alpha it is 0, and pi plus alpha to 2 pi it is equal to Vs. That is same as Vs. So that is same as Vs. And 2 pi to 2 pi plus alpha it is same as Vs. Of course it is going to be forward biased at omega t is equal to 2 pi. Now so if you see, same thing would repeat from remaining cycles. I have considered only one cycle, that is from alpha to 2 pi plus alpha, and we will see that same thing would repeat for remaining cycles also. And we see that once diode thyristor current is made 0, so somewhere here it is made 0, right? Thyristor 1 is conducting till this moment, that is omega t is equal to pi plus alpha. At pi plus alpha, current to thyristor is shifted from T1 to T2, right? So thyristor current made 0 at this moment. Okay, thyristor current is made at this moment, that is at omega t is equal to pi plus alpha, and at the same moment reverse voltage is applied. So computation process is initiated. Okay, turn-off process is initiated at this particular moment, that is at pi plus alpha, and this reverse voltage would appear across thyristor 1 from this pi plus alpha to 2 pi, and at 2 pi it is forward biased. So once thyristor 1 current becomes 0, we applied reverse voltage for this period, that is for pi minus alpha. So you can see, so this instant is corresponding to 2 pi radians and this is corresponding to pi plus alpha. So the difference is going to be pi minus alpha. So omega into Tc is equal to pi minus alpha. And coming to the peak inverse voltage, you can see that is equal to Vm. Assuming alpha is less than 90 degrees, you will see that peak inverse voltage would be same as the peak value of source voltage. In case the alpha value is more than 90 degrees, then you would have peak inverse voltage equal to Vm sin alpha. Circuit turn-off time is equal to pi minus alpha by omega seconds. So where alpha is firing angle, omega is frequency of input supply in radians per second. So peak inverse voltage for any thyristor is going to be Vm. Of course, I will consider the voltage across thyristor for Vt1 only, that is for thyristor 1 only. So even you consider the voltage across thyristor 2, you will have similar kind of voltage wave shape with some time shift. So circuit turn-off time and peak inverse voltage are going to be similar. So in fact same, both are going to be same. Thyristor, the circuit turn-off time as well as peak inverse voltage for all thyristors are same. So peak inverse voltage would be Vm for alpha less than 90. In the alpha is greater than 90, it is going to be Vm sin alpha. Of course, the firing angle greater than 90 degrees is not shown, not discussed here. In case that is greater than 90 degrees, you try to draw it. And in that particular case, you will see that this Vm sin alpha itself is going to be peak value that is appear across the thyristor during its reverse bias condition. So that is going to be peak inverse voltage. So this is the operation of a single phase semi converter with symmetrical configuration. So if you have any doubts, please reach me through mail ID that is given in the description. Thank you.